Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here every week to bring you the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. This podcast is available from your regular podcast provider and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7.
Coming up on the show today,
we have 5 updates for you today. So after the last show, where we had about 600, this is back to normal, where we've just got 5 updates. And Adam's told me they're kind of update-lets, so it should be a fairly brief show for you. But we have updates to Google Sheets, another one to Google Sheets, Google Drive, Google Chat, and Google Calendar. As always, there is a link in the podcast or video description to the document that we read from. This document contains some more information, some relevant links, some lovely pictures, and even some moving graphics showing you some of these features in action. So, let's get to it.
on with the show. Right, so before we begin, I would just like to apologise to everybody last week for because I was using the wrong microphone like a silly Billy, which is slightly embarrassing for somebody that works in IT. However, it should be fine this week. So
and there was no way that we were re-recording that episode, was there, Adam?
No, there was not after that long one. But yeah, so hopefully I've gotten it right this week. Right, so the first update that we have for everybody is to do with Google Sheets. So you can now add bulk conversion for place chips in Google Sheets. So earlier this year, Google introduced a smart canvas feature that enables you to open a location directly in Google Maps and see the preview or find directions when a Google Maps place chip is added into your sheet. Users can now convert links to place chips in bulk from the Insert menu or Cell menu. This time-saving update is especially helpful when formatting data in bulk for event schedules, vendor lists, trip itineraries, etc.
So this is a nice little update. Again, it's a sort of, like you've said before, one of those nice quality of life sort of updates that just makes things a little bit easier. I'm pretty sure that we saw with these chips, we saw something similar with one of the other chips where you could kind of convert it in bulk. Am I imagining that, or did we see that before?
Yes, that was that for web links or YouTube links, I think. Something along those lines, where you could convert them all into chips quite quickly. So it looks like that is now coming to for map links as well.
Yeah, it's really nice, and I'd encourage anybody to who's interested in this update to have a little look at the moving graphic, or the document rather, on because there is a moving graphic here showing how this actually works. It's pretty straightforward. There's what looks like a link. I think it's a maps link, isn't it, that somebody's put into the cells here, and they're just right-clicking on it and then going down to smart chips, and then there's an option to convert that to a smart chip Google Map sort of link. So it's pretty easy to do, pretty straightforward, and for anybody interested, there's a little moving graphic there that Adam's very kindly put in. I think you're going to talk about when we can expect to see this available, Adam, is that right?
Yes, so although this is a little update, and most updatelets are available straight away, unless otherwise specified, and this one has been otherwise specified. So this update is rolling out now to rapid release, and scheduled release is going to be at an extended pace, so potentially longer than 15 days for feature visibility. So because this update came at the tail end of last week, when you're hearing this, when the episode of this podcast comes out, you may have another week or so before this update is available to everybody. And I've also added a link into our document as well if anybody would like to learn more about inserting smart chips into your Google Sheets. There's quite a few smart chips that are available to everybody now, so make use of those.
Yeah, absolutely. There are, like Adam says, so many smart chips that you can now use, and very interesting that you can do this in Google Sheets. We're really starting, in my opinion, to see Google Sheets just accelerate so much away from Excel in terms of becoming just so much more than spreadsheets. It's really got these advantages and powerful features in with things like smart chips that you can put in. Just make it so much more than a spreadsheet.
Absolutely. So I mentioned last week with the people chips that you could use, I was saying my personal preference was probably not to use those as as often as potentially some other people would. However, this one, perfect. Use this all the time, because instead of just having some long hyperlink to somewhere, to a location within Google Maps, is just have the smart chip. So this is a classic example that where a smart chip would be perfect to have. So yeah, a very nice little update.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Adam. Not just the visual aspect of how the smart chip kind of truncates it down to a more meaningful address, but having that Google Maps link just pop up as well is as a little preview is really, really nice. It's very, very slick. And again, that preview and everything, that's shown on the moving graphic that's on our document, so anybody can check that out. Thank you very much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Okay, up next, we have another Google Sheets little update alert for everybody. So you can now easily set up drop-down chips in Google Sheets with a new pre-fill feature. So if you select a range of cells, then insert a drop-down chip, manually entered cell data will convert to pre-fill the drop-down values. You can then use the drop-down sidebar to easily adjust the options or add styles to the drop-down before accepting.
This is really nice. Again, one of these really simple updates, but really, really great time saver for people. So just to be clear about how this works, the example that Google's given here in the moving graphic on the document, which you can go and see, is really, really nice. For anybody who doesn't have access to that or wants me to sort of explain it, what they've got is a few rows where they have, for example, complete, in progress, not started, blocked and depreciated, I think that is, or deprioritized, sorry. So they've got those different options and you just select them all and then you go down to insert, I think that is, I'm just waiting for the graphic to replay, yeah, insert drop down, and that feature has always been there. You've always been able to go insert drop down, but with those selected, what it does is it pre-fills the data validation rule, which is the data validation rule is the options within the drop down. So it pre-fills those with the options that you've selected there. In this case, the complete, in progress, etc. And as Adam says, that brings up a little panel on the right hand side, and you're then able to edit those, so you can delete them, you can rename them, you can color code them, all sorts of different things. These are the sorts of things on Google Sheets that I find are just so much easier than Excel. Have you ever tried to put a drop down into Excel?
I don't think I have, actually. You know, off the top of my head, I probably wouldn't even know how to.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does. I mean, from memory, I think you still have to go activate the developer ribbon or whatever it is, you know, before you can even begin. It's so difficult to do these. It's like putting tick boxes into Word and things like that. You know, these things that really should be quite simple in this day and age. They're very, very simple in Google, still very difficult in Microsoft sort of land. So, and you know, that is somebody talking who's a bit out of touch with using Office on a day-to-day basis. We use Google only, and we do use Office with our clients. So maybe it has kind of evolved a little bit in Office, but come on, you know, putting a tick box in and things like that, you should have been able to do that back in 2000. It's always been a sort of a problem and a long-winded thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, so for this update, it's a great little update. It's not one of those updates that I don't think anyone's going to go out of the way and say, like, oh my god, this brand new feature has just come out, then I must go off and use this immediately. But it's one of those things that I think everybody would potentially come across using unintentionally, and so it's almost one of those seamless updates that their life has been made easier for them without them even realising. And so that's the kind of update that we like to see.
I agree. Like you've said before, those quality of life updates, and they're just little tweaks and they just make things easier for everybody. I really like them as well. You put a very handy link in here, haven't you, Adam, for people wanting to sort of know more about drop-downs, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, there's a link in there if anybody would like to learn more about creating a drop-down list with existing data.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Adam. Lovely update again. What have we got next, please?
So up next, we have another little updatelet. This week is full of little updatelets for everybody. This time it's to do with Google Drive. So reorganizing the file and folder menu in Google Drive. So earlier this year, Google introduced a refreshed interface for Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. Building upon this, when right-clicking a file or folder within Google Drive, you will now see a new menu format. So while the menu functionality remains the same, Google have reordered and renamed menu items and also added new submenus. So for example, previously you could just right click on a file and I think the option to move the file was just there, and then you could follow the path to then go and remove your file. The option to move a file is now gone, or is now nesting under Organize. So now you could right click on a file, then go to Organize, and then the option to move, and some other options are also there as well. So it's essentially tidying up the right click menu.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really nice thing to do, because there are quite quick ways to move things. So putting that nested under a submenu, I can understand why Google have done that. And that's an excellent example that you've cited there, Adam. The one that I really like as well is the report or block down the bottom, which is also in red. I don't think that's in red at the moment. I could be mistaken, but I don't recall seeing that in red. So that's really, really nice that they've put that in red. And I have actually noticed myself that the right-click context menu on Google Drive recently has gotten really Spartan. It sort of has been cut down quite a bit, so it's nice to see some more functions introduced back here, which hopefully people will find very useful.
Yes, so it definitely shouldn't have been cut back in the sense that any features have been removed. It's just been tidied up. It's had some housekeeping, so it's more pleasant to the eye to look at. It's just a bit tidier. It's just hopefully it should be a bit nicer for everybody.
Yeah.
Something else that I also noticed with this update, it's not directly mentioned, but just something else that I've noticed within Google Drive that I'm not sure if it was available before, but maybe it is. You almost actually don't need the right-click menu anymore, because now if you left-click on a file or folder within Google Drive, then you'll see a menu almost like a ribbon along the top that will give you most of the same options. So some buttons will just be there that you may use quite a lot, say if you wanted to share or download. Some of those more popular options are just there straight away from a left click, but there's also the little three-dot menu that you could use, which is essentially, it will give you the same menu as if you did right click anyway. So there's a couple of ways to approach it. You could either right click or left click.
Yeah, absolutely. And for any users who have sort of got a Mac or something like that, it's very, very useful for them to be able to get access to that with the left click rather than having to right click, because on a Mac, some people who've used Macs for a very, very long time, they hardly ever use a right click. They don't even have it enabled on their trackpad. So, and some people really struggle with the two-finger right click. I don't know why, personally. I don't find it that complicated.
I could go off on a whole other tangent just about that, because sorry, but just using two fingers to right click. It's difficult to say, but it's just not that difficult to do. But so many people that just like if they're wanting to quickly demo something on my laptop or something, everybody struggles to right click. I'm just like, no, just give it your two clinger click, and it's easy.
Two clinger flick, and then you're fine. Yeah, maybe that's why they're getting confused, because we keep saying it like that. Maybe that's why they're getting confused. I agree with you, Adam. I don't think it's complicated myself, but people really do seem to struggle with it, and they're like, two fingers on a trackpad, and you see them go down, and it's like two fingers
with so much force.
So yeah, it's quite funny. It's the same with scrolling, though, isn't it? You know, using the two fingers to scroll on the Mac's trackpad. People really sort of struggled with that, and I'm not really. I don't know. I think it's maybe just so alien to some people to use two fingers.
I think with that, and obviously we're going off on a massive tangent here that's completely unrelated to Google Drive, but about that, I think the reason for that may be, and I might be wrong, but I think it's because on Windows, when you scroll, it's natively the opposite way round to how it is on a Mac. So yeah. I always scroll up to scroll down, but I think on Windows you do it the other way around, and even on a Mac, if somebody you can flip it the other way around, you can do it to your own personal preference, but if somebody has done that does throw me off, because I'm just so used to I don't even look at my fingers what they're doing. I just let them do their own thing, and then if I'm on someone else's computer and they don't work, then they get confused.
And I agree with you. And I remember when Apple changed that, and initially I thought, I don't like this weird way of doing it where you scroll up to go down. But of course, it's to replicate what we have on a smartphone or a touchscreen device.
Or your iPad, yeah, exactly. It's the exact same motion that you would use.
Yeah, so once again, kind of Apple at the forefront of thinking about the user interface like that. But anyway, circling back to this with Google Drive, it was a lovely update again, just tidying up. Again, for anybody who's interested in what the context menu is going to look like, we've got a graphic in the document showing you the options and how that's going to be laid out, so anybody can have a look there. And it's like Adam says, it's a small thing, but if you're used to right-clicking and going to a certain place and then suddenly it's all changed or all moved, or as it's more relevant, any administrators will sympathise with this, your users find it's in a different place. Oh my God, we all know how moving one thing 10 millimetres up on a menu, that's it. It doesn't work anymore. It's the end of the world. So again, you might want to kind of notify your users if you've got any users who are sensitive to change, let's just say, then you might want to notify them that this context menu is changing slightly. I think I can think of a few that we might be able to notify just to sort of be on the safe side.
I couldn't possibly think of anyone. No, nobody at all. No, nobody springs to mind. Not a single person.
Not a single person. Being very diplomatic there, Adam. What have we got next, please, Adam?
So up next, another little update-let for everybody. So there's 4 little update-lets for everybody this week. This time it's to do with Google Chat. So there's Google have released, there's an updated timeline for upgrading the inline threaded experience in Google Chat. So earlier this year, Google announced that existing spaces organised by conversation topic will be upgraded to the new inline threaded experience by the 4th quarter of 2023. And Google would like to provide an update on that timing, and that is, so the upgrade will start in September 2023, so literally a couple of weeks away, and is expected to be completed by the end of the 1st quarter of 2024. Ahead of the upgrade, Google Workspace admins, partners and resellers will receive an email with more information about what to expect before any changes are made to their experience.
Oh, that's lovely that there's going to be an email notification going out about that, about how that's going to change. I'm really looking forward to this inline threading experience replacing conversation view. I haven't really noticed whether it's replaced it on our chat because we don't kind of tend to go into massive conversations. We tend to just do some notifications on our chat in the conversation areas. But I haven't really noticed whether we've changed over. But I'm really looking forward to going to this inline threading experience. For anybody listening who's unfamiliar with what this inline threading experience is, we've talked about it on the podcast a few times in the past. And Adam has very kindly provided a link to the previous announcement as well, so you can have a look at some more information in there if you want to know more about what inline threading is. But in a kind of nutshell, rather than where you've got spaces where you're in group conversations effectively, because that's what Google calls group areas, is spaces, where you're in there and you've got a long conversation going on and then you sort of want to take that conversation off with a few of you, you can do that without it having to be in the main conversation. So it's sort of almost like the reply privately feature on WhatsApp, but a little bit more flexible in the fact that you can take a few people off.
Yeah, so I would say it's a bit like if you think that the main conversation is in pageless mode at the moment, so it's just one long continuous scroll. So even if you reply to somebody else, it's just every single reply, every message goes directly at the bottom. Whereas when it goes to the inline threaded experience, whenever you reply to somebody else, then it will then be broken up into columns. So then a new column would be introduced for a different reply, and all the subsequent replies to the same conversation will be within the same column. So then it should just be a bit easier, hopefully, to be able to bring a bit more context to all the replies, because you can see, oh, this is what everybody has replied to, and this is what they've said about something, whereas then the main conversation that's not a reply will then stay within the column A, for example,
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree, Adam. And like a lot of these updates, it's more geared towards bigger companies than us, for example. You know, we don't ever get lost in conversations. There's not enough of us. But if you're in an organisation with 100 people and they do an announcement where they say, oh, hey, we're going to be launching this particular product, then Adam's absolutely right. You know, you kind of have that conversation with everybody going, oh, wow, that's going to be really cool. Oh, where are we doing it? Oh, what's this doing? And da-da-da. But then somebody might say, oh, hey, Karen from finance, I need to speak to you about this particular thing. And that can kind of go off in what Google call this inline thread. It sort of goes off to a separate little conversation.
Yeah, or potentially it could be handy if you're replying to a message quite late on. So, I don't know, maybe at the start of the week someone says, oh, anyone fancy going to the pub on Friday after work or something like that? And then the rest of the week continues. People are continuing to chat as they would. But then if you then want to reply to that message that was sent at the beginning of the week, then the inline threading could be quite handy, because then you could continue that the conversation that started at the earlier in the week without interrupting everybody else.
Yeah, another great example, Adam. Absolutely. That's really, really good example as well. So, very, very nice feature, this, and I'm really looking forward to it coming to our chat. We probably won't use it a huge amount, but I'm really looking forward to it coming to our chat, because we have... I've kind of done this manually before, when we're in the general area, and I'll post something, and then I want to say, speak to you, and then I say, want to speak to you and Gary, and I'll actually take it into a separate group with you and Gary, and we'll kind of talk about it there. And it's not too much of a problem, because like I said, we're only a small team, so it sort of makes sense. But with this inline threading, it will be even easier to keep it all sort of segmented within the main chat of whatever we're talking about. So
yes, absolutely. I'm sure it'll be very clear as soon as it actually rolls out. So which will be from the end of this year to the first quarter of next year.
Yeah, and I think in the previous announcement link that Adam's put here, there's actually probably some graphics, isn't there, Adam, of showing people what this actually looks like and how it works. I
expect so, yes. And obviously we have mentioned it a couple of times on this podcast as well. So everyone, you're more than welcome to listen back to some previous episodes of our podcast to hear us discuss it a bit more.
Exactly. And and just to let you know as well, the links to these documents, we always keep these live, you know, so even if you go back to our very first episode, you'll be able to access the document. So we always keep these documents accessible for historic podcasts. Thank you very much, Adam. What have we got last, please?
Okay, so up next, we have an update relating to Google Calendar. So you can now programmatically read and write working locations in the Google Calendar API, and that feature is now generally available. So this was previously available in a beta through Google's developer preview program, which is the ability to read and write a user's working location using the Google Calendar API. And so that feature is now available. So reading a user's working location helps better understand the flow and volume of people through physical campuses. Using this information, you can better adapt on-site resources and update other third-party services, such as hot desk booking tools. Writing a user's working location makes it easier to update a user's working location in their calendar based on when and where they've booked a hot desk, or if they've scheduled a trip via a travel booking tool, and more.
Very, very cool. I mean, we talked about this update before, right? This is literally just saying that it's now moved out of beta into being generally available. As I'm looking at this more, I don't know what you think, Adam, but I think that the write-up that Google's given here is more useful in terms of understanding what you could use this for, or how this feature might be useful. I'm thinking to myself, and I don't know whether you can do this, it does talk a lot here specifically about hot desk booking tools and things like that, but at the end of the day, it's an API, it's a calendar API that's allowing read and write of the calendar. Imagine how cool it would be if you had a scan in and scan out facility at your workplace with an ID card, for example, or something like that. You could link that to the calendar. So when you scan into work, it goes, oh, Adam's at work. I'll update his calendar location to say he's at work. when you scan out, it scans out to say he's not at work anymore. He's not at working location. And then you could take it further. You could do it the other way around. So when it was reading from the calendar, it would go, Adam is at work, or he's just arrived at work, or his calendar is updated to say he's at work. I'll trigger something else. I'll do something else in the office that's related to that. I don't know, unlock his office or something like that. There's all
quick,
sorts
look
of
busy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Adam's arrived, look busy. So there's all sorts of different things that you could do with these working locations to automate other areas and it's a bit like if this then that, right? It's like saying, you're here, so therefore I'm going to do this, or you're there, so I'm therefore going to do that. I don't know if for certain that you can do that, but knowing APIs, I should think it's pretty flexible with being able to do pretty much anything you want.
Yes, I also imagine this is one of those updates where the larger your organisation, the more and more beneficial this could be. Because if you're in a very small office and you can see everybody that's in the building just sat from your own desk, then maybe you don't really need to... It should be fair, I imagine. It would probably be quite obvious who is or isn't inside the building. But if you're in a large building, or maybe your offices are across several floors, something along those lines, then I can imagine an API like this with the examples that you just gave could be very helpful.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Adam. And I think as well, to be fair, even in a smaller organisation, what you could potentially use this for is future bookings. So it might be quite handy if people update their calendar to say, I'm going to be out of the office on this date, this date, this date, and somebody's trying to book a meeting with them. And in the context of this update, they're trying to do that within their clever company tool, whatever that is, that project management tool. And the project management tool that's linked to the calendar API then goes, hey, they're not going to be here on that day, and so I'm going to flag an alert to say you can't do a physical meeting at the building with them because they're not going to be here. Or, I tell you what would be really cool is if that system then said, but hey, do you want me to ping a suggestion to them to say, are they able to come in? Or something like that. There's all sorts of different examples that you could use this for. So I think it's a really, really cool, again, a really, really nice update. Really cool that they've opened up calendar location in that way to sort of interact with that data and update it both ways.
Yes, absolutely. And definitely from an admin point of view, it's actually quite interesting and potentially exciting just to see how far APIs how far they can go. Because obviously with most of the updates, it's all about making life easier for everybody. And if the APIs get more and more intuitive, or if you're able to set them up to do something that's technically pretty cool, actually, then yeah, I think it would be quite exciting just to see how much easier it could make life for everyone.
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit with in terms of your imagination of what you can use this for and what the other end is going to support, which if you're making your own stuff is almost completely unlimited with what you can do. So yeah, really, really like this. What's the getting started on this, please, Adam?
Okay, so for admins, you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about configuring the working location feature for your organization. For admins and developers, for more information, you should see Google's developer documentation for reading and writing users' working location. While all developers will be able to use the API, the working location feature is only available for eligible workspace edition, so more on that in just a moment. For the end users to get started, you could also visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about setting your working location and adding your working location for part of the day, because potentially you don't want your location to be there all day.
Yeah, very good point. And thank you for adding...
links to all of that are within our document.
Yeah, I was just about to say thank you for adding links to all of that, Adam. So that's really, really great. And everybody can go in there and check those out if they want to learn more about that. What's the rollout pace and availability here? Interesting availability, looking at this briefly. But yeah, let's get to the rollout pace first.
Okay, so rapid release and scheduled release, there is a gradual rollout for this update, so potentially up to 15 days for feature visibility, which started on August the 16th. So this is going to be available to Google Workspace Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Fundamentals, Education Plus, Education Standard, the Teaching and Learning Upgrade and non-profit customers, as well as legacy G Suite business customers. This is not going to be available to Google Workspace Essentials, Business Starter, Enterprise Essentials, Frontline, or G Suite Basic customers.
Great, and just for clarity, that's the working location part that's not available, isn't it? That's related to that.
Yes. Sorry. So all developers can access the API, but the working location feature is only available for those tiers that I just mentioned.
Yeah, perfect. That's great to just clarify that for our listeners. Wonderful. That's great, Adam. Well, as I said to everybody, a much shorter show this week. Thank God. That was quite a marathon last week, and well done again, Adam, for getting through all of those updates. There were so many. So well done on that again, Adam. Even if you were on the wrong microphone, but that's okay. We forgive you. It's the first time. Well, that's it, everybody. That is everything that you need to know about all of the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from your regular podcast provider, wherever you cast your pods, and also available in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7. Thank you very much for joining us this week.
And we'll be back again next week with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye!